Welcome to the new Hype Man Show Live with your host and professional crappie angler, Mr. Zeke Anderson. Hey, we're talking all things crappie, including tournaments, baits, electronics, tips, tricks, and more. The Hype Man Show Live is brought to you by none other than the Bass Tank. And now, here's the Hype Man himself, Mr. Zeke Anderson.
What's going on, folks? Hey, we've got some people on here watching right now. Man, thank you guys for joining us today for the Hype Man Show, Thursday, 2 o'clock. We're going to see how this time slot works and make adjustments from there. I am super excited. Got an awesome show for you guys today. Some really good guys over in Louisiana, actually. I've got the second place finishers from the Wally Marshall Expo on the Red River. Let's go ahead and bring him in here one at a time. Let's start with Big Sasquatch, Mr. Wesley. What's going on, Wes?
Not much, Zeke. Just getting done with a day of guiding on beautiful Lake D'Arbonne today.
How was the day?
It was pretty tough. You know, D'Arbonne fish is tough these days. A lot of pressure on the lake. We found some good fish. We probably caught 30, 35 fish today. So it was a good day. Had some first timers with the live scope, and it took a little while to get them to where they had it figured out. But we caught some good fish.
I know how you do. You show them how to do it. You catch one or two fish, and you put them on them. So I know how tricky that can be with people that have never used live scope before.
Sure, but I prefer my clients to actually get to catch the fish, whereas opposed to a lot of people catch the fish for their clients. That's just not how I like it. I've been on guide trips before where the guide caught all the fish. I didn't have any fun, so that's not how I try to do my days.
I like it. All right, let's go ahead. We've got your partner on here, Justin Smart. There he is. That handsome son of a gun. Justin's at work. He actually has to work for a living while me and Wes pretend like we work and fish all the time. So he's sitting in his shop right now. But, man, thanks for jumping on here and joining us, Justin.
Absolutely, man. It's kind of back to reality for me. It kind of sucks, but glad to be with you guys right now, and I can stick with you for the whole deal. So,
man, I appreciate it. And I've got one little surprise for you guys. I've got a fourth guest on here. Who's this guy?
Dylan!
It's Oklahoma Justin.
Yeah.
Oklahoma Justin.
I got to show all y'all something real quick. I just got done with a guide trip. Got these guys with me right here. We got Ethan over here. We got a Superman Howard Zoomer. Getting ready to lay the knife. There's Rodney. I want to show y'all some of these. Smash Fest.
Are those white bass or those crappie?
Don't
Man, got a table full of stripers.
You know how we do.
Hey, but go fishing. I get so jealous that y'all have muddy water up there that I just want to move to Oklahoma.
It's awesome. I mean, you're always welcome to come up here, bud.
Oh yeah.
Always.
It looks like you had a great day today.
Oh yeah, for sure. Super good day. We had 53 fish, had over 15 pounds on Eufaula today. That's it's hard to do here. Hard to do.
You're on Eufaula?
Yep. Lake Eufaula.
Nice.
Not Alabama.
I had a whopping 8.5 pounds on D'Arbonne today.
Hey, that'll do it sometimes, Wes. That'll do it. That's about what me and Zeke usually catch on day 2.
That's a top 10 weight on D'Arbonne.
For sure. What's up, Zeke?
Dylan, I can hear you. I don't think Zeke can hear you.
Yeah, I can't
hear everybody, but I can't hear Zeke.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyways. Yeah, we can talk to each other, I guess.
Absolutely.
Dylan, what color jig you catching the fish on?
white and chartreuse, or white, red, and black and chartreuse.
Okay. Black and
Those are what we
chartreuse is
use.
always good, jig.
I love black and chartreuse. That's what.
Yeah. I
That's
caught
right.
them on gray chartreuse and the Bistino jig today, which is pink, purple, and chartreuse.
Best to know.
Yep.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna have to jump off here. I got some work to do. It was awesome to hear from both of you. Congratulations again on y'all's second place finish on the Red River. I mean, it's awesome to show up like y'all did and go to work. I mean, it's hard to do in this. You know, everybody's got live scope. Everybody's figuring it out. It's kind of back to where you have to do homework again.
You have to do your homework. You got to know how to catch those fish that don't want to bite.
That's right. That's right. All right, I'm gonna let y'all get this figured out with Zeke, and it was good to see both of y'all. And I don't know what's going on with Zeke not being able to hear audio or anything, but hopefully y'all can get it figured out.
All
Good
right,
to go now.
I think Zeke's back.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can
we
hear
hear
you.
you now.
All right. Sorry about that. Dylan, congrats on your day. 16 pounds. Incredible you followed stringer.
Crazy
Sure.
day.
Yeah, buddy. Have fun cleaning those fish.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna let y'all get to it, and I'll keep in touch. Okay, guys.
See you, man.
See ya.
That was a little surprise for Justin. We wanted to bring his man crush on.
That's his doppelganger. Isn't that what they call it?
That's right.
Yeah, he kept calling me chunky, but when I put my face on, it kept open. So whatever.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, we got some folks getting on here. Jared Dyer, what's going on, buddy? Steve Daniels, got your Ultrex on. Game changer. David Cook, how do you attach your live scope to a spot lock trolling motor? David, if you're going to run spot lock, you're probably going to want to run your live scope transducer on a separate pole. It's a directional transducer. So if you're on spot lock, it's doing this. Jared Dyer, Howard the crappie now. I mean, we're all still catching them. We're coming up on the best time of year, I think, to catch crappie. What do you guys think? Justin, what do you think? Best time of year to go catch big crappie?
Absolutely, man. I mean, other than early spring, this is the time to go. Me and Wesley went to a local lake the other day that we've kind of grew up on and have fished for a really long time. And in the summertime, the fish there are just real finicky. They don't like to bite. And the other day we went, and every time you dropped a bait in, they were biting. So,
it was like a bed of bluegill.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was a lot of fun, and it's just nice to go out and still have days like that where you just go out and have fun and just see how many you can catch, you know. But yeah, right now is, I think, as the water's cooling down, probably the best time of year to catch numbers and size. So Wesley may have something to say to add on to that.
I mean, I guide year round. I have to go catch them every day. So I mean, the fish always got to bite. They're going to bite every day. I mean, if you stay on them, stay where you can find them, you can catch them about every day.
I agree. I talk to a lot of folks every day, and they think there's a crappie season, and I think that we're dispelling that myth amongst all of us. What's going on, Brad Buckaloo? Thanks for jumping on, man. Always good to see you.
I think one of the reasons I think that crappie fishing is becoming so popular is because there's not a season. You do it from January 1st to December 31st. Every day.
100%. I agree. If you understand basics about the patterns of crappie fishing, then you can really stay on them year round. Especially if you fish one or two lakes, right? It's a lot easier to follow the migration of the fish.
But you're right. It's easy on one or two lakes, but on I fish 7 or 8 different lakes, and they act different in every lake. But once you get a lake or two figured out, they're going to do kind of the same things. And then we have a lot of black crappie here. We have some lakes that are black crappie dominant, and those fish are going to act totally different than the white crappie do. So
what's the difference there? Let's talk
your
about that.
Your black crappie seem to be more of a structure-oriented fish, and they tend to school up more. But they're also very finicky and very hard to get to bite. Whereas your white crappie, I never do see them really school up so much or even get on structures much, and they seem to be a little bit easier to get to bite. Your black crappie, and their diet, they eat a lot more bugs, crawfish, bugs off the top of the water at night. So a lot of people try to throw too big of a bait on them, or just things that are always like a shad imitation or too bright of a color bait. Those crappie and those black crappie, especially in the summertime, they will get on little bitty tiny jigs in like a brown color, dark green color. They're not so much going to eat your chartreuses and your whites and your things that your white crappie do. You got to start looking more towards the little natural and really small baits for your black crappie.
Phenomenal advice right there. I mean, I hope a lot of people watch this video and pick up on that. And I could not agree with you more. I mean, it's the same thing around here. I experienced in Hamilton, that first Wally Marshall tournament. It was black crappie, and we had to size down to a 1/80th ounce trout jig is what we ended up using to catch those black crappie. So finicky fish, super fun to catch though, right? I mean, they fight hard.
They get big and they fight. Lord, they fight.
It's different, much different. Let's dive into the Red River. You guys fished the Texoma qualifier to qualify to fish the Red River Shootout, the Wally Marshall Invitational. Congratulations on fishing it, on getting invited to fish it, making it to day 3, and holding your second place from day 1 to day 3. I mean, it's a hard thing to do. A lot of pressure.
It was the hardest 3 days of fishing I've ever went through, period.
So day 1, you guys came in with what kind of weight?
It was 1127.
Yeah, something like that.
How in the world did you find 1127? I know the holes you were fishing.
I'll take it for a minute, Wes. So this is complete happenstance that it happened like this. Last year, right before the river went off limits, it was a dreary, rainy, miserable, cold day, and Wesley said, "Hey man, let's go to the river." And I'm like, "For what? Why would you want to do that today?" He's like, "I don't know. I don't have anything to do. Let's go." And we stumble into this spot, and lo and behold, there are just pounders everywhere. And so, man, it was maybe a week before it went off limits, and we just waltzed right back in there, and that's what we stumbled on the first day of the tournament. So, I mean, we that's what we were planning to do, and we really thought there was more weight than that in there, but they'd just been pressured so hard all week. You know how it is. There was tons of boats in there every day, and but a year and a week before the tournament, they were in there, and they were in there big.
So you found some good fish there a year in advance. Obviously it was off limits that whole year. Now, when you went into your starting hole on day 1, how many other boats were in the same area?
There was several boats around, but the area we were really concentrating on, there was nobody. That was extremely lucky.
Gotcha.
We weren't so fortunate, but that area was really good to us that morning. As the day went on, the bite got less and less, and I think that's kind of what everyone else was experiencing too. But that area that morning really produced, and we packed it up, went to the weigh-in, and like I said, we did the best we could. We got, we were only trailing by less than around half a pound after the first day, and so we agreed we're going to go right back down there again tomorrow, and that's what we did.
So day 2, you make the call, you go to your same spot. I can't blame you. You caught over 11 pounds, right? When you roll into that same hole day 2, what was it like?
Go ahead, Wes.
Well, we had to, when you get to that spot, of course, on the Red River, you can't, once you get off the river, you basically should be idling anywhere, because if you're not, you're going to tear your boat up. So the whole way we're idling across this big flat and going out there, and we could see 2 boats absolutely sitting in the meat of our hole. and we saw them catch 4 or 5 fish while we're idling up to our hole. So, you know, it just kind of lets the wind out of your sails when you really had no one around you the day before. Then all of a sudden on day 2, magically there's 2 boats sitting right where you fished the whole day before. So, like I said, it had me all it had me all flustered. And Justin, you know, being the tournament, he has much more tournament experience than I do, fishing bass tournaments. He said, Wesley said, just calm down, just fish. Don't worry about those other boats. We're going to catch them. Just fish. And I had to finally calm myself down, put my head down, and grind it out. And we caught fish.
Incredibly frustrating. You roll into your number 1 hole and see boats there. I mean, I've experienced that personally. It makes you want to cry. It makes you want to give up. The last thing it makes me want to do is fish harder. You've got a great partner just like I do. They are 2 peas in a pod, Justin and Dylan, and can keep things rolling for us.
Sure.
So that's crucial in this sport. And I know there's guys out there like Chad Turner that fish alone, right? And Chad had a partner at the Wally tournament all season. He fished alone. For me, man, in a team sport like this, it's not only about catching the fish. There's so many other mental games you're playing all day long to keep yourself in the game, your partner in the game, and keep going. And we had a 170 die on us on day 3, and heartbreaking, you know, on that river at that time. But we just had to put our heads down. We had 1106 on our scale at that time, and it died. We had about 2 hours left and ended up with 1097, I think. So almost got back to where we were with that big fish dying. But that stuff happened. What I think a lot of people don't realize is tournament fishing is such a mental game. And if you can't stay mentally intact for multiple days in a row, then you're going to fail when it comes down to it. Multi-day fishing's tough. It's one thing to have fish a 1-day tournament, but a 2 or even a 3-day is even tougher. Yeah. So you guys grinded it out. You found what weight on day 2?
10.5, 1057, I think.
I mean, again, phenomenal weight. At that point, Lark started pulling away, right? First place, Jared and Jeff started pulling away from the pack. At that point, I felt like I was fighting for a top 10. You guys were fighting for, we'll see if we can get Wesley back here. You guys were fighting for second.
Yeah,
it's going to be very tough to pull off first at that point.
Yeah.
So and there's 1057. Did you move around a lot on day 2 to find those fish?
And we went right back to that spot, Zeke, and we stayed there all day, literally making tiny circles in a tiny circle, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And there were fish throughout the day that would come up, and we would catch them, and then there would be an hour or so where we wouldn't even see a fish. But we knew the fish that were there were good fish. And back to the mind games, man. I mean, at 9 o'clock when you've only got 3 keepers and you're not seeing any fish, it's easy to sprint out of there. You know what I mean? But you know, I just, not to sound philosophical or anything, but I just have a really strong belief in staying positive. Positive mental attitude is what I've always called it, where you can just kind of believe things into existence. Sometimes it seems like if you just keep fishing and just believe good things are going to happen. I think that plays a lot in our success over the last couple of months for sure.
It definitely does, man. Especially, I think we got Wesley back here. Shannon, can you bring Wesley back in? There he is.
My phone overheated.
Oh, gotcha.
October.
Yeah. Welcome to Louisiana. It's 85 degrees here in October, and I'm sitting here in the truck with the air conditioner on, but my phone happened to be sitting in the sun through the window, and it overheated.
We're still talking about just having that positive mental attitude on the boat, and Justin says that he's able to will things into existence.
You do, and hey, get mad about something or losing your cool, that is not ever going to help you in a tournament situation or a guide situation or just in daily life.
Yeah. His phone overheated again.
Is he gone again?
Yeah, he's frozen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so day 2, you guys have 10:57. How did you feel rolling into the scales?
I really felt like we were going to lose some ground. I thought that some people knew where Larch was fishing and out and would go in there and really get them like he was getting them. Luckily, I think we still the second or maybe the third or fourth highest weight on day 2, and we had enough cushion to keep our second place position. And so, we both really felt like we were going to lose ground. Luckily, didn't. Stayed in second place, and but yeah, day 2 was a grind. It wasn't anything like day. Caught maybe half of the amount of fish, and like I said, really stayed in the same area, just grinding it out.
So you're waiting on fish to show up.
Absolutely.
Either come off the bottom, see it. I mean, if you went for an hour without seeing fish, I would have started a little bit of panic mode would set in. Start running around. That's what most anglers do. And then they start running around to different spots trying to find something. So you guys waited them out. They showed up, caught the fish you catch. Great day. Go to the scales. You've got, was it Jeff Hyman, I think, was in third place?
Yeah.
And Randy Pope?
It was Jeff or Nick Whitten.
And they were close. I mean, I know it was pretty close. Weights were consistently dropping that day. I think there were only 2 or 3 teams that brought in more weight that day than day 1. And so you saw that trend going. So day 3, you guys go out. Where'd you go?
We danced with the girl we brought. We went right back down there.
Brave.
Yeah.
Brave. What did you think weight-wise that you were going to need on day 3 to come back and maintain your second place?
I really felt like we needed 11 pounds.
At least 10 and a half.
Yeah.
10 and a half. What did you end up catching on day 3?
10.24.
10.27, wasn't it? Because we needed 10.24. Anyway, 10.20 something.
And right there, and I mean, you held on by just a few hundredths, right?
Yeah, 8 100ths.
Yeah.
8 100ths to stay in second. How did that feel on the stage whenever Chris Jones, FLW legend, the best in the business, in my opinion, as an MC, announces that weight and you guys, bam, you knew you had it?
Yeah, so it was really as much a surprise to us as it was anyone else. We didn't catch very many fish at all that day. We ran down there to that spot. We caught 3 really nice keepers down there, threw them in the live well. We had 4 dinks to go with them, and then we didn't panic, but it was dried up. We knew we had to go, and so we stopped in another little place, and then we end up by you guys and Hyman and Larch and everyone there by the marina, and just really just fished really hard to get the last 4 fish that were just decent fish. We still had 1 small one in there, so that lets me know that the other 6 were really good quality. Like I said, we caught so few fish though, we didn't bother weighing them. We knew what was big and what wasn't, and we just
had one little bitty one we needed to get rid of.
Yeah.
So we never weighed them. Since we'd never weighed the fish, when we got to the weigh-in, and when the weight came up, that was true emotion because we didn't have any idea what we had.
That's awesome.
And plus we'd heard Hyman and Pope or whoever, we heard them out there on the water saying they'd sacked them up and they were moving up and whatever. And whenever they got up there and their weight came up, they were disappointed because they thought they had more. We thought they had more, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's some scale issues that third day, so none of us really knew what we were going to be dropping on the scale. So I'm thrilled it worked out for you guys. What a tournament. Great turnout. We've got a Travis Brown here. There's some good guys right there representing Louisiana with class.
That's my boy right there. Love
That's
that
our boy
guy
right there, Travis.
the class part, you know, can be questionable, but
Hey, I ain't gotta be first class.
Chad Turner jumped on and said, "What's up, guys? I'm ready to get together and eat at Wesley Miller's again."
That's right.
Blue.
Chad stayed with all of us, myself and Dylan and Steve, Chad's partner at the tournament. We all stayed over at Wesley's, and he cooked us incredible meals every night. I mean, bayou meals, right? His mom even made us gumbo one night, which is probably the best I've ever had. Pretty sure Dylan woke up in the middle of the night and was just spooning that stuff right out of the pot.
Man, that's just Southern hospitality. You got to know when you show up down here, we're going to take care of you. That's just part of living in Louisiana, being from the South. You know, we don't know a stranger. We're going to do our best to make sure you're going to have a good time. And we're going to take care of you when you show up down here at our place.
And you did, man. I blew away any expectation. I was just hoping for a couch to sleep on. That was it. And every night we sat out on the back deck and I watched Dylan shoot turtles. So it was a dang good time.
It was a lot of fun.
Having Chad, you know, there. You know, Chad was there hanging out. Oh, so we had a good time. Yeah, Chad, I was just about to get into that. Chad says to talk about those jigs that you tie. So that's the other thing I wanted to dive into was the equipment that you guys use down, not only on the Red River, but Wes, you do it every day. Justin, every time you go fishing, you guys are using the same stuff. So go ahead and start with your jigs. What jigs you guys using?
Man, I got my little hand-tied jigs, and you know what I think differentiates my hand-tied jigs from everybody else's. These are the ones I make. Is that I test them on a daily basis with my clients when I fish. That's all we use. We're never using live bait. We never kill a minnow in my boat. But I'm only using 5 or 6 different colors of jigs. Very basic. Your grays, your gray and chartreuse. I got one bright color one we call the Bispino jig. But other than that, I'm staying the basic natural colors. To me, it's more so, but I'm keeping them real small, little bitty small jigs. I'm not using big ones, not using, like I said, not a whole lot of bright colors. And, you know, just my presentation, the way we're presenting it to the fish and doing that correctly every time, I think makes a big difference. But my little bitty jigs, being that I fish with them every day, and I can test my colors and I can promise you they're going to catch fish. And, you know, just the style of jig it is. But it's very basic looking. It doesn't look like much, but they are a killer.
What size?
1/16 is about the largest I use. I'm using 1/32 a lot. And for that tournament, we use 1/32 a lot because those fish by that time had been pressured so hard that you had to scale it down in order to get a bite.
And I know we had all talked in the nights before the tournament, not about any kind of information, so no one worry here. But how we thought, because these fish in the Red River had been left alone for so long.
They'd never seen a bait. The majority of them had never been fished for before.
In their life, right?
No.
So I think that fish, and we had talked about this in the evenings, fish that we were all catching in practice, a lot of those got caught again.
Every one of them.
So if you go to Darbone for a tournament, you're not catching those fish twice.
No. And
More
even me on Darbone today, when you got 25 foot out from a big fish, he was going the other direction.
Even today on a Thursday with not a lot of boats out there, they were still that spooky.
Yeah. So when you got those tournaments like the Red River, you know, we all could see what the practice and people practicing on them, 100 teams of people out there, the difference it made in the fish bite by the time the tournament day rolled around, when 4 days of people catching every single fish they saw, how detrimental that is to the bite when tournament day rolls around. And especially by day 3 on the tournament. Those things, when you saw one of them, it was hard to get them to bite because there's no telling. They may have been caught 2 or 3 times by that time during the week.
Yeah. So we'll dive into that's going to segue into be something for later, but I want to finish talking about your equipment. I see what you're wearing there on your head. so I know the rods you use, and I know you've been with ACC for a long time. Would you go ahead and talk about what rods you use?
Well, Justin likes. I'll let Justin go. He likes. You tell him which ones you like, Justin.
Man, I really like. Of course, we use ACC rods, and we like them because they're light, they're strong. You can flip 3-pounders in the boat just like any of the rest of the rods on the market. Everybody makes a good rod these days, but I really like using the 7.5 foot or 8 foot casting rod on places like Darbone and stuff. But for this particular tournament, it was pretty much a vertical up and down type presentation is what they wanted. Something dangling right over their beak. And I really like the 10 foot with the rear grip on it and the 11 foot with the rear grip on it. A lot of the times Wesley uses his 13 footer, and that's just so we can drift up to a fish and he can approach it first. And then if we get a little closer to it, I can come in behind him with the shorter rod and try to catch him like that. Of course, a lot of times they never make it to me, and that's fine, but that's just that's the way we prefer to do it. I like the shorter rods, and he likes to use a little bit longer one.
And that's team fishing. That's just true teamwork right there. I mean, Dylan and I'll do a lot of that same stuff, and sometimes I've got a casting rod in my hand while he's got a long rod in his. So ACC crappie sticks. Go ahead, Wes.
Oh, in my daily guide service, and the rod I used the most during that tournament was 11 foot with a mid reel seat. To me, the 11 foot's long enough to get it out there in front of the fish, but it's also light enough to where I can fish with it all day and I never feel tired. I can hand it to an 85-year-old woman. She can fish all day long. She's not going to get tired at the end of the day. To me, it's just a good lightweight rod that's it's just good for most of what you need in crappie fishing.
Awesome. I've never used them. I've been in the boat with them. You guys know I use Huckabee rods, but I agree with you, Justin. There's a lot of great rod manufacturers out there now. And I think the different lineups serve different purposes. So if we can all support everybody and just admit that, then it'll help the sport grow.
Absolutely, man. There's all of these rods are so similar. So many. Your brand preference is just what that is preference. I mean, Andy's a really nice guy. He does a lot for us, equipment wise, and in other ways too. And he chose us, and we chose him, and that's just who we've been with. And it's been a great partnership, and we hope to continue that. So, and he makes a really good rod. So
yeah,
I've never broken one on a fish. I've broken one stepping on one or doing other dumb things. But, they're really good rods, and like I said, we have a really good partnership.
Awesome.
Oh, I've got 4 rods, and they're the same 4 rods we used in that tournament that have been on my deck of my boat for the past 2 years. Probably caught 15,000-20,000 crappie, and I've not broken one yet.
I love that. I remember you told me that you had the same 4 rods on your deck for the past 2 years. I thought, man, I've cycled through a ton of different rods over the past 2 years.
They weren't even green.
Huh?
They weren't even green.
Yeah, when I told Andy that, he bundled me up 4 brand new ones and gave them to me. So I guess I need to put my new rods in my boat.
It's probably about time. You can give those 4 to some kids that'll appreciate them.
They probably wouldn't like the stained up handles. They probably think something was wrong with them.
Okay, we got a question here from Living Missouri's Outdoor. Good segue into the next topic here. I've been watching a lot of crappie anglers turning to braided line. Is it more beneficial? If so, what size line do you prefer?
I don't use braid. I use 8-pound fluorocarbon. A lot of people like braid. The times I've tried to use it, I could not keep it from tying half hitches on the end of my rod. And after I dug 3 or 4 or 5 of those off of there, I went home, took it right back off, put some fluorocarbon on it. That's what I always fish with. You know, I think that's another thing. It's just preference.
High vis?
No, clear.
Clear 8-pound fluorocarbon.
And I think Justin, he uses high vis line.
I'm still a mono guy, man. I mean, I really, we net just about every fish we catch in a tournament, and it's not because we can't flip them in the boat. It's just because that's just how we've always done it. So I'm still a 6 pound to 8 pound mono kind of guy. I use high vis. I think we're all on the same page here. It doesn't matter. I love fishing with braid. I love the way a fish feels when it hits braid, the way the end of the rod feels. I just think it's unnecessary for the most part. If you're fishing really, really thick structure, maybe, but I know you're a braid guy. You love braid, even in open water. So, maybe it's something that I need to get better at. I just still prefer mono. I think it casts better for me too.
I agree with you. It definitely casts better. And I actually have transitioned to fluorocarbon primarily, a lot heavier fluorocarbon than you guys use on my vertical rods. My long rods, I use 17 pound clear. On my casting rods, it's 10 pound high vis. I can't cast braid to save my life. I haven't found a braided line I loved for casting. So I use a lot of fluorocarbon. Something a lot of people don't know, the difference between monofilament and fluorocarbon is, let me get this right. Fluorocarbon sinks and monofilament floats. So if you're casting a real lightweight jig, I like to use fluorocarbon so it doesn't take as long to get down to that fish. So something that bass fisherman buddy Kyle Cordian years ago was that difference between mono and fluoro.
Sure, and that's also why I use a small fluoro. Is the small jigs I use, and I put a little weight above them. And still, they get down that much faster whenever you're using small line as opposed to even to a 17 pound. It gets down there to them quicker.
Absolutely.
And
when I'm vertical,
the spookier these fish are getting every day, you've got to get it down there to them fast because they're not going to hang out very long.
I agree. And like Justin touched on earlier, maybe before we were even live, here in Oklahoma, we've got super muddy, dirty water. So line diameter, line size, braided, fluoro, mono really doesn't seem to matter. I've gone more to the fluoro and mono route because we travel so much to Louisiana all the dang time and fish clear water and stained water, and it does seem to make a difference.
Yeah.
I know when LiveScope first came out, for the first year and a half, there was this big braided line, the fish don't care, and we all kind of got caught up in it. A lot of people did. And now we're learning even more about fish behavior and how they react to the line, different sizes, diameters, strengths, colors. And so these fish can be line shy, I think, is what we're trying to get at here.
Yeah, sure. For sure. I think they're more negatively impacted by braid in the clear water lakes for sure.
I agree. And here's another reason I went to, I use a lot of fluorocarbon when I'm vertical fishing, even that thicker fluorocarbon, that 17 pound test. You know how you have to drag it back and forth to get it right in that fish's nose. Fluoro cuts through the water so much faster and easier than braid does. Braid in the water is like dragging a rope through the water. So you're waiting on your bait to catch up, and you got this big arc in your line. So that's why it was really last year on Table Rock when John and I were fishing Table Rock, 25, 30 foot deep. I saw the need to have that fluorocarbon.
So. Sure, you can just get down there to them so much faster, and fluorocarbon has so little stretch, so it really almost fishes like braid because it has zero stretch. It fishes just about like braid. But, the fish don't see it.
That's a great point. Another difference to bring up between mono and fluoro. Fluoro has very little stretch to it, and mono will give. So there's different. If the bite's real finicky, then I'm probably casting with mono because when I set that hook on a big fish, I need it to stretch a little.
Sure.
So there's benefits to all of it. And what we're seeing now is crappie fishing is getting more in line with a bass fisherman's mentality. And you've got different rods, different length rods, different line sizes, line weights, line colors on your boat. You can really overthink it. And I'm a big proponent of the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Oh yeah, I don't fish. Like I said, I got about 4 or 5 jigs that are mine that I fish with, and that's it. And we got some stuff we'll cast at them. Maybe we may cast a swim bait or a little spinner bait at them, but vast majority of the time, day in and day out, we're catching them vertically jigging with little simple jigs and trying to keep it as simple as possible. Be good at what you can be. Be really good at what you can do instead of being okay at a lot of things. If that makes sense. Be really good at the way you know how to get your strengths. Be really good at it, and the other stuff, you just got to fish your strength.
Absolutely, I agree with that completely. It's what has made Jeff Larch so successful this year on the trails. Is he is a phenomenal shallow water fisherman, and no matter where he goes, that's what he's going to try to find. He's going to try to find fish shallow, and if he does, we all need to watch out because he's dang good at it.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously.
Do you guys know Dustin Powell?
We do know Dustin Powell. That's my man.
He said, "Good job, Bass Tank. Thanks for having 2 great, genuine guys on the channel. Great interview. Appreciate that, Dustin."
He's one of our top. He's our top sponsor. He's a wonderful guy. He's one of our good friends. He takes real good care of us. He owns Blazer Services, an oil field construction company in East Texas, North Louisiana. Super guy. He and his wife Rachel, just salt of the earth people, wonderful people. That they've really been a blessing to us and helped us out a lot in the past year.
That's awesome. I love to hear the transition in this sport of crappie fishing. 2, 3, 4 years ago, you didn't hear of sponsors from outside of the industry that were really wanting to get involved in the crappie fishing side of things. In the bass world, it's been that way forever. And all of us as anglers, if you're going to chase this dream, this tournament trail, we've got to look outside the industry. We can't just rely on the companies inside the industry to help us with our travel expenses and tournament fees and all that. So, Dustin, appreciate you. Great advocate for the sport. I know these guys appreciate you, but we all do for what you're doing. Robert Johnson asked, "What kind of reels do you guys use?"
I've got 3 different brands, just little small spinning reels. I got 3 different brands on my rods. I mean, just basically the reels to me are just there to hold line. I'm not going to say that one's better than the other. I know you probably use a bait caster. To me, it's just something to hold line. I'm not going, reels are reels.
I agree. Justin? I agree with you, Wes. I mean, a reel essentially is a line holder. I used Iowa reels. Awesome reels. Love them. Probably spent way too much money on them, though. I mean, my buddies, Bo and Jerry, use the little $12, $15 Mr. Crappie reels, I think is what they use. So
I got some Lewis, I got some Abu Garcia. I think I've got a Fluger on. So those 3 reels, I mean, I got different ones, and they're all good. It's like I said, it's just a hold line. It's not like bass fishing where a really good reel is gonna really affect the way you fish.
I love a Fluger, by the way.
Oh, I mean, for the money, it's probably my favorite. It's a good smooth reel.
Yeah, hard to beat it for the money.
Yeah,
so, right. Okay, let me see here. When fishing deep water, do you use heavier jig or slow fall?
I like to, and I'll tell you a prime example for that is on Lake Fork this time of year and into the winter. They're going to get really deep on the edge of those channels out there. And I like to use a huge jig and a huge weight. When you're dropping a bait 40 foot, I want to get it down there as fast as possible, especially when the wind's blowing. Wes can tell you all about that last year. We're sitting out there in 2-foot waves coming over the front of the boat trying to catch these fish, and that's the only way you can do it. You got to get down there as quickly as you can, or you're going to be off the mark.
Huge jig. What do you talk? Quarter ounce?
Yeah, he's using a quarter ounce, but I'm still. He likes the bigger jigs. I still stay with my little same 16th ounce jig. Just put a pretty good size weight above it, enough to get it down. I'm still always going to stay with my little small jigs generally. I mean, I know Justin, he'll throw a bigger one, but yeah, he's the Lake Fork tournament he's talking about. The first day he caught a pile of them on that big jig. Second day was post frontal. We caught every one of them on a little over 16th ounce jig, 35 foot of water, just putting a big giant split shot above it to get it down there real fast. But I'm always going to stay with my little big jigs, unless we're, casting at big fish, but whatever. Usually I'm still going to try to stay with my small baits that I have confidence in.
That's the thing about a smaller bait. They're going to work 99% of the time. Now, a big, like Justin's talking about, a bigger bait, there are days that the fish will chomp that better. I do believe that. But I'm like you, Wesley. I start out with the hair jig, a small jig, usually a 32nd ounce. And typically I'll fish with that same jig the entire tournament, all day, fun fishing, whatever I'm doing.
Sure, that's just what I have more faith in. And I fish every day. I get to see how fish act and what they do every day, and trying to put clients on them that have never used a live scope before or never even crappie fished before. It seems like those small jigs are going to work day in and day out.
Absolutely. We got another question here from Anthony. Anthony Gagone. Earlier, you mentioned about teaching your clients to use live scope. About how long does it take till a new user can start using the technology to help them catch fish?
It's different with everybody. Some people, it seems like 5 minutes into it, they're doing it perfect and catching them. Some people, it may take an hour or two of the same coaching to get them to get the bait where it needs to be, to get down to the fish where we can see it on the screen and them catch it. But usually within the first hour, I've got people pretty much casting like we need to, or pitching like we need to, and catching fish. So it's usually pretty. I've got a teaching method down pat. I've got it figured out on how to get people on them, and I can usually get them pretty quick. I can get them on fish.
So I highly recommend hiring a guide like Wesley. If you guys don't know his guide service, Big Sasquatch Outdoors, you can find him on social media, Facebook, and other outlets. There's a lot. If you're not in Louisiana, you're 10 hours away from Wesley, find a local guide that knows live scope and is a good teacher. Because if you've just gotten this technology, you're struggling to learn it, pay a little tuition to go out with somebody that's a good teacher and can help get you dialed in.
Oh, because Justin and I, we spent literally 6 months sitting on the front of the boat all day, every day I had off, trying to figure out how to use that. But I can take you out in 1 7-hour day, put you 6 months ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Okay, I've got a guy you guys know well, I think, Josh Starkey. Does he fish over there against you guys?
Oh, yeah. That's our boy.
Yeah. He said them two made me fish so hard this year. They bring it every time. Two great anglers, and even better team. I agree, Josh. Thanks for jumping on and watching.
Appreciate the comments,
Bo Tisdale jumped on. Sorry, bro. They don't use Mr. Crappie reels. Those are little ones. They're called Little Reds. I knew there was some line holders. A 1-to-1 ratio. Click, click, click. It's like a fly reel. Oh.
Nothing wrong with that.
Jared Dyer said, how far do you put your weight above the jig?
About 8 inches. 8 inches to a foot. You want it far enough up to where the fish doesn't key in on your weight. And the other thing I've really started using the past couple months is I found some weights that are like these little oval weights. They don't have the wings on them like most of your pinch on weights do, because with the ones with the little wings on them, a lot of times the fish will see those little wings on that weight and they key in on that instead of your jig. So I found using the little oval weight with no wings on it, they don't seem to try to eat it as much. So it seems to work pretty good. A little better than the regular pinch on weights.
But it's still a crimp on.
It's a crimp on, but it doesn't have the, a lot of them have the little wings where you can take them back off the line. This one doesn't have it. It's just a little small oval weight, about 1/8 ounce. And that's what I put about my jig, about anywhere 8 to 10 inches above it.
I gotcha. I use the same style. I just peg an oval weight that you slide your line through with bobber stops.
Yeah.
And I probably overthink it, but crimp on weights make me nervous and I'm damaging line. So that's why I use the ones with bobber stops.
I just always put mine on finger tight, or I might bite it down with my teeth or a pair of pliers just a little bit. I don't just wrench down on it because I think you can damage your line. But if you just put it on and crimp your fingers, I've never had any problems with my line breaking right there.
Gotcha. All right, Bob Denon, appreciate you getting on here, man. You're one of the best. Always trying to learn, always trying to get better. You guys probably don't know Bob. He's a great guy. Fishes Crappie USA. He's been down here to our shop. Good fisherman, even better man. So appreciate you, Bob. Guys, the last thing I want to talk about, we're coming up, been almost an hour here. The controversial stuff. I want to talk about starting to petition these national trails. And Justin, I want to hear, and I'm talking national trails only. I'm not talking about clubs, because I want to encourage people to come out and fish clubs any way possible. But on the national trail, and I know your answer already. Crappie Masters and ACT, I love them both. I fish them both. Great trails. I'm not talking bad about the trails. Minnows are still allowed. What do you think, Justin? Got no audio, Justin. Can't hear you. Nope. Don't got you. We'll go to Wes. Same question.
The way I look at it is the way everybody, by the time you get to the national level, or if you're going to spend the money on a tournament, or you're going to pay your entry fee on a tournament, you know how to use your live scope well enough. You know how to catch fish well enough. There should be no live bait in the national level, period. We've all got live scope. We're all cheating bad enough with live scope anyway, and the fish are already at disadvantage since we have live scope. There's no reason to be dangling the minnow in front of them. It should be, it's in the BASS and your bass fishing tournaments. Nobody's using live bait. There's no reason for us to be using live bait. It should be using live bait. It does not grow lure companies. There's less money being spent on plastics. There's less money being spent on hair jigs and the supplies to make them. Whenever you can go drop a shiner on a gold hook in front of a crappie and catch him. To me, that takes very little to no skill to do that. Anybody can drop a live shiner on live scope in front of a fish and catch him. Everybody should be having to use artificials only. Wally Marshall has it right on his tournaments by making it artificial only. It's more of a challenge. It's more of a challenge to everybody. And to me, it evens the field out.
I agree with you. Justin, are you back? Still can't hear you. Sorry, bro. I agree with you. You know this. I'm wanting to start this conversation, get the anglers talking about it, and hopefully get everybody on the same page so we can make that change. Wesley and I had a long conversation last night, and we talked about several more things that we're not going to dive into today, that over the next few years, we would like to see some changes made at the national level. And it's all in an effort to make the sport better and help build up local companies. And, this whole live bait thing, how can we in good conscience go to our bait sponsors and ask for financial, not just baits, but for money to help with offset costs of these tournaments? I mean, this stuff is not free to go do. We sacrifice a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort because we love it, because we love doing it. But we can't go to these smaller bait companies and ask for money when we're going and buying minnows to fish tournaments with. So hopefully we can get some changes made here over the next year or two and kind of start one thing at a time. There's several things that we think need to change, and we're going to start advocating for that change. Again, I want to be clear. We all three fully support the national trails. We love it. We appreciate them. We know how much work and effort they put in to make it happen. This is just the next evolution, just like when bass did it years ago. Stopped allowing live bait, artificial only, and
Well, to me, it's
move
about
on
having
from there.
respect. To me, it's about having respect for the sport and respect for the fish. Even, to me, it's so much better to take one of my baits that I've made with my own two hands and go and pull that fish into biting it, as opposed to using a shiner, dropping it down on a gold hook, where he's going to bite it every time.
I agree with you. It's more fun for me. You're tricking that fish into biting something. And I know different times of year, minnows definitely make it easier. In Oklahoma, it's crazy. The summertime, it's a lot easier to catch them on the minnow. In the wintertime, it's a lot easier on the jig. Dylan and I have done the same thing you guys did this year. Never bought a minnow for a tournament. Never even bought them fun fishing. So we try to practice what we preach. I know these guys do the same thing. We're getting some comments supporting this. So we're gonna try to keep advocating for it and seeing what we can do. I know it's gonna ruffle some feathers and bother some people, but we're gonna see if we can make some change happen. So guys, I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your day. I know it's Thursday afternoon. Justin, you're sitting at work. Thank you for getting on here. Wes, you guys are studs. Congrats again. Second place in the biggest crappie tournament in the world. $40,000 to these guys. $40,000 on that little jig that Wesley tied. So
that little cricket right there.
That's it. $40,000 jig right there.
That's a $40,000 jig.
That's awesome. Stoked for you guys. Happy for you. Obviously can't wait to get together again. We'll have to get you down here to Oklahoma for some Oklahoma hospitality, and we'll shoot some squirrels and have some fun.
That sounds great.
So thank you guys for getting on. Everybody, we'll have another show next week. I've got 2 more surprise guests. I'm going to keep it up my sleeve, but we're going to continue on. So thank you guys for the support. Thanks for supporting the Bass Tank. None of this would be possible without all you guys. So we sure appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
And we'd love to come back anytime.
You're looking to buy fishing electronics, huh? Are you also looking for true experts to help guide you through it? Well, at the Bass Tank, you've come to the right place. We are live forward-facing sonar pioneers with thousands of hours spent learning through winning trophies, cashing checks, and just having fun. Whatever brand you need, we have it. We offer free shipping, and we have 2 financing options available. Our experts are here to help you. Call us today or visit thebasstank.com.